All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Intrepid Racing League for round 4 here at Circuit of the Americas. If you're a Texan cowboy, this is the place to be. So we're just 5 minutes away from the start of the sprint race. Before we get into that, let's have a look at the previous race results. We were in Belgium last time. Unfortunately, I was not there to commentate for that round, but looking at the results, you have Edge in the Red Bull winning the race with the fastest lap as well. So a fantastic result from him, up 3 places from 4th. Beta 4 in the RB, finishing in a nice 2nd place. And then Cobb in the Red Bull, finishing out the podium. So a very, very great result for Red Bull, getting a 1-3 in Belgium. Going down the rest of the grid, or rest of the results, we've got Ted in the Alpine, Pipe Bomb in the RB, Brian DeBruce in the Ferrari, Pixel Knight in the Audi, Eli 34 in the McLaren, Mason in the Ferrari, and Henry in the Mercedes round out the top 10. Pitter Patter, Celius, Wu Shiesty, Dr. B, Max Verstappen 433, and Flyer DJ going down from 11th to 16th. So after that, let's have a look at the driver standings now. Pull those up. After that result, Edge is still in first place in the Drivers' Championship with a modest 10-point gap over Fate F4, who has a significant gap over Henry behind. So at the moment, it is not exactly a car battle for the championship. Henry definitely has an opportunity to get back in, especially with the sprint format this weekend. But if either of the two front drivers have a DNF or something like that, that certainly brings him and Cobb right back into it. And we're very, very early into the season, so anything could happen realistically. But Edge and Feta 4, the two drivers to watch today at COTA. Have a look at the constructor standings. Looking at the constructors standings, Red Bull, to be expected, is in first place with a race win lead over RB. Obviously, this is the constructors, so two drivers contribute. So a 1-2 could flip things here, especially with the sprint format. RB is in second, ahead of McLaren, who's 31 points back. And then Mercedes, only 1 point back. So the third place in the constructors, a very tight battle. And then going down the rest of the way, things could shake up significantly during this race with the sprint format. If you're unaware of how the sprint race works here, we do the reverse championship order. So we'll have a look at the sprint grid mock-up as we get underway here in the lobby. I'll pull up this for you guys as well as we kind of get ready to get underway here for the sprint race. Don't worry about the overlay for now. It will fix itself as soon as we get some telemetry, but for the time being, it's going to be a little bit interesting. It's going to have some logos that are a bit odd, but looking at our grid mock-up, or I guess our grid for the sprint, starting in P1, we have Flyer DJ. In second place, Wu Shiesty. Third place will be Celius. Fourth, Golden Sniper. Fifth, Feed Me Scotch. Sixth, Pitter Powder 95. Seventh place will be Pipe Bomb. Eighth, Mason. Ninth, Pixel Knight. Dr. B 10th. Scrata 11th. Brian DeBruce starts in 12th alongside Ted in 13th. Eli 34 in 14th with Cobb in 15th. 16th will be Henry. 17th will be Fate F4. 18th will be your championship leader, Edge. And then Risers, Azurad Dad, Senzaka, and Patty Star going from P19 to P22, them not having done at least 2 races and therefore do not get to have that reverse championship leeway, I suppose would be the right way to describe it. But we're just waiting on the grid for the time being for things to get underway here. The logos on the left side will populate, the driver name will populate, everything will be all well and dandy in just a moment. The track map will load on the right side and everything. We just have to wait for the logos or for the telemetry to start coming through. So we will wait patiently. However, to explain the way that the sprint works a little bit more, other than the reverse grid, it'll be a 14-lap sprint race, and the drivers are required to pit. And I do believe they are required to use 2 separate compounds. So I would imagine we're going to see a soft medium or a medium soft strategy here. If there is a safety car, maybe somebody might think about, you know, like an early safety car, maybe somebody might be thinking about a hard to the end on an early lap strategy, or maybe even taking a medium to the end, getting that cheap pit stop. But we shall certainly see here momentarily. I believe the lobby just getting their setups put in and whatnot before the sprint race, which is completely fair. I would not want to race on a crappy setup or not have my fuel properly set up. The one thing to watch out for definitely going to be if the drivers maybe underfuel too much. Obviously underfueling being very effective in these new cars, with the fact that you have to lift and coast so much during the race. Okay, we are riding on board as the 5 red lights come on. And we're off, going down towards turn 1. For some reason, the telemetry is still not loading, so we might have to take a look. But the Mercedes stays ahead here. We've got a Haas in second place. An Aston Martin trying to hold it around the outside. Let's try and get this fixed, which is just a bit odd to me why it's not working. Still not loading, so maybe we'll have to scrap this for now. Which is fine, not the end of the world. I know why, because I don't have my team telemetry open. Well, we'll just use this for now. Wu Shiesty leads with Feed Me Scotch, Celius behind. We got a Alpine getting past a Cadillac here in the back, but let's ride on board with the Haas now, going down towards what I believe is turn 12. In the meantime, I'll try and get this properly pulled up so that way we can actually have a look at things properly as this thing decides to come on screen. We've got a Aston Martin and Cadillac alongside going down into the corner, the Cadillac getting ahead of the Aston Martin for the time being. Got some switching up in the back as Flyer DJ, starting on pole position, has sort of spiraled down the order here on this first lap. A pretty torrent run for him through the first lap of running here. But it is a pretty long sprint race, so things can certainly change. Let's see if my telemetry will come through properly now. There we go. Oh, just about. Yep, there we go. Perfect. All right. Now we can ride on board properly with the right telemetry and everything like that. As Femi Scotch looking to make a move on the Mercedes in front. Unfortunately, they do not have their telemetry enabled, so I believe it is Wu Shiesty though. So Wu Shiesty leading us on the soft compound tires. 10-second penalty for number 15, which is a player. I mean, obviously I don't know who that is because people don't have their telemetry enabled properly. So let's have a look. Looks like one of the Mercedes. So that's certainly not going to be good for him. We go down now towards the back straight. The Haas very close to the Mercedes here. Going down the straight here. Is he going to have a look going down into this left-hander? That's certainly a good spot to make an overtake. He's thinking about it. He's gaining, but the Mercedes moving to the inside and maybe just covering that off for the time being as we head now into the technical third sector of this fantastic track here in Austin. Track map pulled up so I can actually remember which corners are what, rather than just being a fool. Really was unprepared for this sprint race, so I apologize for that. But as they round the 3 right-handers going into turn 19 of 20, we got a yellow flag in sector 2. It looks like an Aston Martin is gone round out of turn 12, but manages to get himself righted again. Fastest lap going to the Mercedes in first place as they run down towards turn 1. Excuse me. The Haas just sticking close on the gearbox as Edge passes Celius. So your championship leader moving up quite nicely in the sprint race. Certainly on for the win if he can keep this pace up. The Haas very, very close to the Mercedes going through the S's here in Sector 1. Not exactly a place where you would normally chance an overtake, but if somebody makes a mistake, it's certainly on the cards. Now going down towards turn 11. Once again, another place where you're unlikely to chance an overtake, but maybe the Haas thinking about it right now, poking his nose through on the inside as they go into turn 11. They're keeping it clean. The Mercedes holding it around the outside. He's going to have a good run down towards turn 12, and a little bit of a wiggle from the Haas leaves the Mercedes in first place running down towards turn 12. I do expect the Haas to hold back for the time being as we run down on board towards turn 12. Scarada getting past Ted in the Alpine behind. Scarada on the medium compound tire should start to see his tires firing up quite a bit here as we get into the later stages of this first stint for the drivers. The mediums are going to have that pace advantage coming here very, very soon, as the Haas is very, very close to the Mercedes here, maybe chancing a move. Going down here towards turn 19. I don't know why the battery level is not on. Let's turn that on real quick. Beamy Scotch has his battery level hidden, so unfortunately we cannot see that, but he does manage to get past the Mercedes for the race lead. The Mercedes very, very close going down towards turn 1. Mercedes pulling alongside, deciding to back out at the last minute, but the Haas going very, very deep, so they're going to be alongside here going towards the S's. This could be dangerous, but the Mercedes once again relenting as they head through the S's here. So Beamy Scotch moving up into first place. Excuse me. But all of this battling between the front two going very deep there. Oh, and definitely picking up a track limits warning there. All of this battling between the front two is going to bring the medium runner of Scarada in faster and faster. As you can see, the gap has dropped from 3 seconds down to only 1.5 seconds in a very short amount of time. And you can see the gaggle of cars that Cadillac is dragging behind him. If these front two don't put their heads down and start working together a little bit here, they could be in trouble if that group of medium runners who are charging towards them can, continue to make it work, as the Haas gets a little bit squirrely there on the exit of turn 13, going down now into turn 15. This third sector, a very, very tricky place to try and get the traction down. Would not be surprised to see many cars spin here in qualifying. This left-hander also being very difficult, catching a lot of drivers out, getting a lot of track limits there as well, as we head now into lap 5 of 14. The gap between the Mercedes and the Cadillac remaining steady for the time being, so maybe these two drivers are starting to work together a little bit here. We have a yellow flag in Sector 2 going into Sector 3. Once again, the Aston Martin going around a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. A lot of the drivers at the back struggling at the moment with the track limits, which this track is very well known for. We'll switch back over to, not this guy, to the Mercedes here of, I believe, Whoosh I see, as we go down towards turn 11 here. In the meantime, let's have a look. Nope, I keep pressing the wrong button. Try and not do that. Let's look at the warnings. So Beamy Scotch with 2 warnings at the moment. So Whoosh I see with 0. So a little bit of an advantage here for the Mercedes. If he can put that Haas under pressure, then he might be able to force him into a mistake and get him a penalty, which would be devastating, as any sort of penalty as the Mercedes runs wide there out of turn 12. Very easy to do if you drag a brake or something like that, trying to cut that corner. He is on the precipice here of overtake. He is going to want to stay in there, as the battery deployment is pretty critical here around Coda. So he's going to want to stay within that 1 second window as we head into turn 19. The Mercedes does look like he will keep it for the time being. Phoebe Scotch deciding to come into the pit lane on lap 5. His tires must be absolutely cooked if he has decided to pit this early into the race, as Move a Pipe Bomb moves up into second place. We will leave the Mercedes to it as a V-Carb going up the inside. That's Feta 4 making a move on Pitter Patter. A little bit of an argy-bargy, maybe going to hand that position back down towards the S's, but that is going to give an opportunity to Scarada, and is going to give the opportunity to Move a Pipe Bomb to move and run away from his teammate and the Haas behind. Maybe on this lap he's going to have the chance to extract a little bit of an advantage here and maybe drop the overtake, as the gap has increased to 1.1 seconds. That is pretty big for the V-Carb drivers, so maybe some teamwork going on between Feta 4 and his teammate. Feta 4 making a decisive move as he peels off to the side for some reason to let the Cadillac through. I'm very unsure as to why he did that, but I'm sure we will find out once the race is over. The V-Car making a late move to the inside, going down turn 12. Does he keep it clean? Yes, he does, and he makes the move stick. The Cadillac having to relent and let him through for the time being. Pitter Patter has maintained the gap to Move a Pipe Bomb, so the teamwork between the two V-Cars maybe not working out as well as originally thought. As we go towards the last part of lap 6 of 14, I would expect some of the soft runners here to greatly consider coming into the pit lane on this lap. We will see what happens. The Mercedes choosing to stay out for another tour as we go now into lap 7. Oh no, he's actually decided to come into the pit lane. My mistake. As we go down towards turn 1, so I would imagine that the drivers in front now on the mediums are going to start thinking about whether or not they want to come into the pit lane or not. Obviously those medium runners are going to have a bit of work to do with the undercut to make up all that time from the pit stop. But let's actually have a look and see where second place was. Second place, Femi Scotch, only 15 seconds back from the race leaders. So the undercut is pretty significant here. We have a yellow flag in sector 2. There is a Cadillac having a bit of a moment there, which is going to lose him some time. But looking at the gap to leader here, we can see that the Haas is going to have a big advantage here as we go down towards turn 12. Feta 4 looking to make a move on the inside, drags his brake a little bit, but gets the move done. The Haas maybe thinking about a move to the inside here going towards turn 13, but thinking better of it. The two V-Carbs now running together in P1 and P2. As the Haas makes a move to the inside, very late move, leaves space on the outside, but the V-Carb with the slingshot around the outside is going to have more speed going into these triple right-handers. But it seems like Pitter Patter deciding to use a little bit more battery here as Feta 4 recharging. Yeah, Feta 4 with a massive battery advantage, but Pitter Patter deciding to peel into the pit lane on this occasion, so maybe just trying to slow Feta 4 down before he goes into the pit, trying to help out his teammate a little bit. And you can see the gap between Femi Scotch and the leader is only 13 seconds, so these two V-Car drivers are going to have about a 10-second gap to overcome when they come into the pit lane. Fastest lap going to Edge, who pit, I'm assuming, a couple laps prior. We can look at the tire wear and know for certain, yes, Edge on 3-lap old medium, so he's going to be on a charge as well. In reality, he is actually in net P1 at the moment, but the soft runners, when they come out of the pit lane after what I would assume to be this lap, that would be the right move in my opinion. After they come out of the pit lane this lap, they are going to have some work to do. If they can work together, then they might be able to come out with a race win here. But right now, Edge looking like the favorite to win, especially with a big mistake from Pipe Bomb going down into turn 11, might give the impetus to his teammate to come through, and he turns off the active arrow to allow his teammate to come through. A very smart decision from the V-Carb team there, deciding to work together rather than battle with each other. As Scarada leaves the session, I'm assuming he must have had a lag out of some kind. Excuse me. As we go down into turn 15, I would imagine that the V-Carbs surely have to pit this lap, as they aren't going to have many chances to come back here. I kind of forgot to change things around. One of the V-Carbs peeling into the pit lane. Feta 4 staying out for another tour. His mediums are going to be absolutely cooked by the end of this lap. But Pipe Bomb coming into the pit lane, we'll see where he ends up. Just riding on board. Let's get on board with Edge for this lap, trying to defend from Femi Scotch, who maybe is thinking about a move to the inside. Moves to the inside, but is not going to have that move done. A little bit too far back on this occasion and with the penalty. So maybe more beneficial for the Haas driver to try and work with the Red Bull rather than battle with each other. Race time going to be very important to these drivers who have these penalties like Pipe Bomb and whatnot. So Pipe Bomb coming out in P8 behind Brian DeBruce on the mediums should have that move done. Pretty much slam dunk here in just a moment. But we are going to ride on board with the net race leader at the moment, and we want to see where Fate F4 comes out whenever he decides to pit this lap. If Femi Scotch decides to make a move here going down towards turn 12, that might be beneficial for him. Is the Haas going to chance a move here? He moves to the inside, so definitely showing his intentions early, coming through. The Red Bull maybe just allowing him to come through, saying, you know what, it's not worth it for me to battle with you. But he may regret that going into this third sector, especially if the Haas is significantly slower than him through this part of the lap. We'll see what happens. Maybe the Red Bull will chance a move if he ends up being way too slow, as a yellow flag in sector 2 for Celius, I believe, going off track. A little bit of an adventure there going down towards turn 11. But I would imagine Veda 4 would absolutely 100% come into the pit lane, and he does. But the question is he going to be able to make up all of that time to the race leaders? It's going to be very, very difficult with only 5 laps to go on these soft tires. I mean, he is going to have to be 2 seconds a lap faster than the race leaders, which is certainly possible, but it'll be very, very difficult. Let's see where he ends up coming out. It's going to be a bit of a drag race here towards turn 1. He really needs to get ahead of these cars, and he just doesn't. A little bit of bumping between him and the Ferrari. Maybe the Ferrari not seeing that he was there. Beta 4 in 7th place is going to have a mountain to climb as we go towards the end of the race. Only 10 seconds back from the leader, but he has a lot of traffic to navigate here. He's stuck at the back of this train. Edge now in 2nd place behind Femi Scotch. Femi Scotch with a penalty, though, so Femi Scotch going to end up losing that position, assuming he doesn't break a 3-second gap. Big moves being made by the V-Carb here in front. Move a Pipe Bomb, maybe chancing a move against the Haas. Didn't quite get it done this time, but going down towards turn 12, he's going to have the tire advantage, having stayed out a little bit longer than the cars behind. Does he decide to make a move here? It's going to be close. The Alpine also under threat here from the soft tire runners as the Haas goes deep. Has to come back on track. He's going to have to yield the positions. He can't fight against the Alpine, especially can't touch him and send him wide there. The Haas a little bit naughty there. I feel like that is certainly going to be under reviews. The V-Carb makes a move to the inside going into turn 15. That was brave. Can he hold it around the outside going towards the final 2 sets of corners here? He can. Can he hold it? They're going to be side by side. Who is going to back out? The V-Carb having to leave him the space. We're going into the final corner here, still side by side. The V-Carb still ahead, leaving room for the Haas behind, but that's going to invite his teammate Feta 4 to come through. And if Feta 4 can get through here, he's certainly on for the race win as we go down towards turn 1. Feta 4 staying behind the Alpine beside, move a Pipe Bomb. Just warnings and penalties going out like crazy as we head towards the S's. This is going to be chaotic. Are they going to stay side by side? It seems not. Wisely, they all file back in together, the order being shaken up significantly with Pitter Patter losing out massively during that exchange. That was a rapid flurry of blows. The V-Carbs masterfully working together to get through there, helping their race out significantly as the cars in front are battling with each other, which is going to hurt their race significantly. That is going to just absolutely help out the 2 V-Carbs here who are fighting for the win on their new soft tires. As we head down towards turn 12, I want to get this timing page pulled up so we can see what lap times the drivers are doing here, so that way we can see what's going to happen as Feta 4 moves to the inside on move a Pipe Bomb. Move a Pipe Bomb maybe letting him through here as they're side by side going towards the next corner here. The Haas coming back through here. Both of the V-Carbs running wide, which is going to allow the Haas to come through. A lot of bumping here as we head down towards turn 15. The V-Carb poking his nose through on the inside, but he has a little bit of a wiggle, which is going to let the Haas through. All of this battling is just going to give Edge and Femi Scotch a big advantage here in the closing stages of the race. So these guys may be wanting to think about working together here. I'm trying to get this pulled up so that way I can actually have a track map up, and it's really screwing me over a little bit here. All right, we're back. All right, I gotta be locked in for these last couple of laps here. So looking at the timing from last lap, as we head down towards turn 1, let's see if there's a move made from Feta 4 going into turn 1. He's definitely alongside, thinking about a move. The Haas running a little bit deep, which is going to allow Feta 4 to have a little, maybe a bit of a better run going down towards the S's here, but does not seem to be the case. All right, let's have a look at the last lap. Last lap, Feta Edge did a 138.8. The cars behind doing a similar time. So I do not believe that the V-Carbs are in it for the win. They may be making a mistake on the strategy as the Haas goes down the inside of the Red Bull into turn 11. We're going to stay on board with these guys for now, even though Edge is your net race leader with the penalties. The Haas may be trying to slow him down a little bit just to give his teammate a chance of having a win here. And as they give me the worst camera angles imaginable on board, a little bit of bumping there as we head down into turn 13. Oh, Scarada needs an invite back. Okay, let me see if I can remember. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. Invites. We'll see if I have you added, Scarada. I don't know if I do. It doesn't look like I have you added. Yeah, I don't think I have you added. Going out of the final corner now. Oh, and we've accidentally switched things around. Sorry, Scott, I didn't see your message until now. I've been kind of locked in on the commentating. If your EA is something different from your actual name, then I'll invite you, but you just have to let me know what it is. Or if you don't have me added, if you add me real quick, I'll invite you back. Haas falling back a little bit from the Red Bull of Edge. Edge looking like your runaway race winner here on the penultimate lap. The V-Carbs still about 10 seconds behind Feta 4, getting past his teammate, though, to move up into a respectable 4th place finish. I do not believe he's going to be able to make up the time to benefit from the penalty. Phoebe Scotch going to likely secure a P2 here in this race. The Mercedes in 3rd, likely to secure a podium finish here in the sprint race, unless Feta 4 can find some monster pace here on the last couple of laps. I would imagine that the Haas and Red Bull are just going to cooperate here on the final tour of things. So let's ride on board with Fate F4, chasing down the Mercedes for the last podium position. He is gaining time rather rapidly through this final sector, so he's certainly going to have a chance going into this final lap to make up a podium position, which would be a great recovery after having to pit super late into the race. Let's see what happens. A 3-second time penalty for Cow at the back for multiple warnings. As we head now down towards turn 1, Feta 4 not getting the crucial overtake on the Mercedes, so he's going to have to make this work on merit on the final lap here. Going down towards the S's here. Feta 4 only 5/10 back. Can he make a move here? I would imagine that he's waiting for turn 12 to make the move stick, but maybe if he has the pace here going down towards turn 11, he might think about it. The Haas and the Red Bull fighting in front. I don't think that stands to benefit either of them, but with the gap being so large between the two of them and the rest of the field, I guess they're deciding to have a little bit of fun here on the last lap of the sprint race as we head down towards turn 12. Feta 4 for the last podium position. The Mercedes turning the battery off. Feta 4 coming back to the inside, then diving back to the outside and back to the inside, going down the inside here into the corner. The Mercedes running deep. I don't know if he maybe left the track and gained an advantage there. That might be a questionable move from the Mercedes. Yep, he runs wide, so he hands the position back to the V-Carb for the time being. But the Mercedes will have one more chance here through the triple right-handers into turn 19 to maybe chance a move around the outside or the inside. It looks like he's going to have a thought of it, but maybe just deciding to stay back as we go through the final set of corners. Edge will be your race winner followed by Femi Scotch in the Haas. Feta 4 finishing out the podium positions ahead of, I believe it is Wu Shiesty in the Mercedes. Move a Pipe Bomb finishing in P5, but likely dropping down to P6, P7, as Scarata and Ted move up into P5 and P6. Pitter Patter finishes 8th place, Brian DeBruce in 9th, Cobble K in 10th. The other Mercedes down in 11th place, 12th for Asrada, 13th for the Alpine, 14th for Flyer DJ, 15th for Celius, and 16th for Kaus. I'm not sure the points format here in the sprint race, but assuming that this follows IRL points scoring, then, which I'm assuming it does because those feature races do, we are looking at points for both of the Haas drivers, both of the V-Carbs. So they're getting away with a pretty good result, both of them, for the team. It does look like Edge is going to be the one to beat here going into qualifying as we wrap up the sprint race here. And we will be shortly jumping into full qualifying, or just regular, short qualifying for the feature race. We'll see where everybody's pace really is. But Edge doing a great job to come back from basically the back of the grid to win the race here, the sprint race. So he's going to come away with a nice 8-point total. Femi Scotch with a very respectable P2, and Feta 4 finishing out the podium. So nothing to be upset about for any of the drivers. Feta 4 maybe a little bit regretful over the fact that he was had to pit so late, especially with his teammate having a penalty. I think that maybe it would have been a wiser move for the faster driver to come into the pit lane first. But fastest start going to Henry Opp. Driver of the day obviously going to Edge, and cleanest driver also going to Edge, and Edge obviously with the most overtakes as well. So no surprises there. Here's your order here, and we'll look at the race director so that way people can kind of have a look at their incidents, all the warnings and things of that nature. So if anybody needs anything like that, then they can get them. We'll go ahead and disable the overlay for the time being, just so that way we can recuperate after that exciting sprint race. Scarata, I'll add you, so in case if you lag out again, I can invite you back. That way you're not just completely, screwed. Need the rest of the grid also to enable their telemetry. Doing some bookkeeping in the meantime. Commentary lounge. Let me add you real quick, Scarata, so that way if you lag out, you're not screwed. I wasn't able to invite you before because I didn't have you added, so should be good to go now. Oh, that's not a good noise that you want to hear right before a race. There we go. I have to disconnect my controller for a moment because my headset is about to die. Should have thought about charging that before the race. If I don't have another cable that I can't use before we get started here for qualifying. Give me one moment. Let's have a look. Looks like we just might have another cable. Should be good. Should be in good shape. Unplug that. In. My desk is going to be a sea of wires, but that's okay. Lots of wires. Lots and lots of wires right now. All right, that's plugged in. Good Lord. All right, that was a bit of work, but we're good. We're good. All right, let's get the quali layout pulled up in anticipation here. Don't worry, obviously this will change. Once we get into the session, I am going to pull this up so we can look at sector times. All right. Let's see who can come out with pole position. It's going to be pretty competitive, I think. But Edge, definitely the one to look out for the most. I think he's going to have some monster pace, just judging from the sprint result. But we shall see. I mean, truly anything can happen. So we shall see. Let's get, before we get in here, let's get the battery level pulled up as well. All right. Here we are for qualifying. See who decides to go out onto track first. The majority of people, some of these Alpines and things of that nature, maybe not enabling their telemetry. So we won't be able to see them for the time being. We've got a Red Bull leaving the garage. We'll see who that is. A Haas coming out as well. A lot of cars starting to file out of the pit lane here. See who's on track first. Looks like a Williams is going to be our first car on track for today. Something a bit weird going on with our telemetry at the moment. Not sure why things are not updating properly. Let's see. Oh, that might be why. This application is completely frozen. All right. Let's kill that, and then we'll just restart it real quick. Not sure why it's completely frozen, but you know, we'll make it work. Thankfully, it happened now and not in the middle of the race. So let's get it fixed here. Pull it back up. Much better. All right. Here we are riding on board with Asrada on his outlap. We'll go ahead and hang out with him for the first running of things. Get the battery level pulled up though, because I do want to be able to see that. And I get the chat pulled back up. All right, perfect. Using a hot lap on his outlap, I'm not sure what he's thinking here. He's starting the lap with 70% battery and in hot lap, so this is not what you want to do here, guys. I think we'll go ahead and veto that and try and ride on board with Beamy Scotch in the Haas. I could find his car, please. Seriously. What is going on here? Oh, there we go. There's Fumi Scotch. All right, Fumi Scotch. On board with Fumi Scotch. He's got his battery in none. So I'm not sure. Is he pushing this lap? Doesn't seem like he is, if he's not deploying any battery here. Going down into turn 11. So he's not pushing. Let's see. Is there anybody who is pushing? We've got Ted with the purple first sector. Move a pipe bomb. We just happened to hop on board with him, so we'll ride with him for now. Using overtake down towards turn 11. He does have a car in front of him, though. A Cadillac. Both of the Cadillacs on flying laps, so they are not required to get out of the way. Maybe doing a second out lap, so deciding to get out of the way as we head down now towards turn 12. Pipe bomb with 20% battery remaining. He's going to be struggling a little bit for battery here in the last part of the lap. Let's see what kind of sector time he does. 103.8. We'll see if that is actually good for anything here. As it looks like Ted in the Alpine is going to be the one who sets the provisional pole. Fumi Scotch with a 142. I'm assuming that's the second out lap. Ted setting our benchmark with a 134. Wu Shiesty with a 1.2 seconds off the pace. Let's see where Pipe Bomb can go. Pipe Bomb is second off. The other Alpine coming across 2.4 seconds off the pace. Brian DeBruce is flying at the moment, so let's see if we can't get on board with the man in the Ferrari. Here we are with Brian DeBruce, only 0.3 off in the second sector, but he did set a purple first sector. So let's see what he can do here going into the final part of the lap here. His battery level is hidden, so I cannot see how much battery he has, but I'm hoping that he saved some for the last part of the lap. Otherwise, his lap time is going to suffer quite a bit. He's coming to the line. Let's see what he can do. It is going to be a 134.5, so 0.5 off. Right now, Ted, your fastest driver, but Edge and Feta 4 yet to set a lap. Feta 4 is on his out lap, and it does look like he is going to be starting a flying lap soon. So let's try and hop on board with the other V-Carb, see what kind of lap time he can set. Feta 4 on his out lap here. We'll just ride on board with him for the time being, and just kind of watch him work himself up for this lap here. I do believe that the times are going to be... I do want to see who... Henry Opp is the Mercedes who snatched away provisional pole position by 2 hundredths of a second. I do want to see what kind of times these two drivers can put up. I do believe that pole position is going to be in the 133s. I do not think that we will see any drivers dip into the 132s, but I would be very, very impressed if we were to see some drivers dip into the 132s. I think low 133s is going to be the target for the drivers today, but we shall see. Why don't we just go ahead and actually ride on board with Beta 4 here for his flying lap. I'm going now down towards turn 1, deploying the battery down to 60%, throws it in medium, and then a little bit of a lift off before the first corner, tip the car in and get on the power early. Have to be careful as you go over the crest of the hill there, as that could upset the balance of the car going into the S's here. With 56% battery, so quite a bit of battery going into the S's here, so he's doing a good job so far. Let's see where his first sector ends up being 2/10 faster than pole position in just the first sector, or the provisional pole in the first sector. Going now down towards turn 11, you have to be careful here to get a late apex, as that determines your run all the way down into turn 12. Have to be careful not to get on power too early off of that curb as we head now on the major run down towards turn 12. Beta 4 with plenty of battery to power his forward powered V-carb down towards that corner. Not lifting and coasting at all or doing any partial throttle into the corner, using the track limits nicely, but not cutting the curb on the inside enough. That is going to hurt his lap time. He's still 2/10 up here in the second sector, so let's see what he can do. Coming into the final sector here, he V'd off that corner very nicely. Lots of battery here to deploy down towards the penultimate corner. Can he get it hooked up? He is washing out pretty wide at the moment. You can definitely hold that a lot tighter. Down into the final corner. You have to be careful not to invalidate here. To the line, let's see what kind of time he can do. A 1:33.4, a very respectable time, which is enough to take provisional pole by over half a second. Edge on his outlap, so let's try and get on board with him. We will stay off board for this lap, as I believe the onboard is a bit loud. This tend to be a bit loud, so we'll switch back over to this. I do need to set up the hotkeys to switch things around, because I think that would be better. So I'll have that done for next time. So that way you guys don't have to see the pause screen every single time I switch things around. Feed Me Scotch going into second with a respectable 133 point, what is that? 133.9, I believe. We can look and see. 133.8. Very, very good lap from him. So we ride with Edge on his prep lap here. We'll see what sort of time he can do. I do want to make sure that the ERS is open all the time, so let's save that over that. Edge rounding the final corner now to start his lap, puts it into medium before rounding the final corner. Let's see what he does down towards turn 1, deploying the battery. Turns it off a little bit earlier than Feta 4 did, going down into turn 1. Let's see what he can do. Looks like he gets onto the apex nicely there, using the whole track to his advantage. Now going down towards the S's. We'll see at the end of this tricky part of the track where he can go as far as Feta 4's time. Only 100th off in the first sector, so doing a great job so far in this lap. He is going to need to find a little bit more here in the middle part of the lap. So let's see what he can do. Lots of drivers making some mistakes here in the second sector, as we can see yellow flags popping up down in turn 11 here. Let's see what kind of run the Red Bull can get down into turn 12. Oh my God, having to do that again. Really why I need to make sure that I have that figured out for the next race, because that does get annoying after a certain amount of time. Gets that hooked up nicely. Let's see where the sector time is. He's only about a 10th off from Feta 4 in the second sector. So can he find that last 10th here in the third part of the lap? There's certainly 3/10 in this part of the lap to find, multiple tenths to find in this part of the lap. So let's see if he can figure it out through this right-hander or through this left-hander. If you're super committed, you can gain a lot of time. You have to be careful not to invalidate, which it doesn't look like he has. So going into the final corner here, let's see what kind of time he can do to the line. 132, 133, 133. He ends up 2 tenths back on his first run here in qualifying. So a little bit not quite on the pace. He's going to need to have a better second run here. Let's give me Scotch in the pits, but let's hide on board. Oh, move a pipe bomb is setting a absolutely rapid second sector. Let's try and get on board with him. He's got a lot of battery here in the third sector. His first lap was 1.6 seconds out the pace, but it looks like he has found some pace here, setting a personal best sector 1 and a purple sector 2 going into the penultimate corner. Let's see what he can do to the line. Don't invalidate in the final corner. Yep, he makes it. And now let's see what he does to the line here. Goes fourth fastest, doing a respectable 134 flat. Let's see what the Mercedes here on his outlap can do. He's going to need to find some time if he wants to make up some positions here before the start of the feature race. Lots of yellow flags. I believe some drivers may be retiring from the session or something of that nature. Mercedes running down towards turn 1 in hot lap. Personally, I would not recommend using that mode pretty much at all, but he does get that corner cut very nicely, taking a fantastic line through turn 1. That should help him out quite a bit, and he saved up quite a bit of battery as well, so his sector 1 time might be a little bit off, but that battery saving is going to help him out later. But he invalidates his lap going through turn 7. Very easy to do. Many a time I have also cut that corner too hard. Cobble K improving in the first sector, a 10th up on Feta Force time. So Cobble K here in the Red Bull maybe looking to usurp Feta 4 for that provisional pole position ahead of his teammate. Let's see what he can do. We're going down towards turn 12 now. He's deploying all the battery. I would imagine he's going to deploy all the way down to the braking zone. Don't really need to worry about too much battery other than for the triple right-handers. See if he cuts that nicely. It's hard to tell from this angle. Gets turn 13 hooked up nicely. Now we're heading down towards turn 15. V's off of that corner well, uses all the track limit on exit. He still has a lot of battery, setting personal best at the moment, but is it going to be enough to take away provisional pole position from Feta 4? He does have a little bit more battery than the other drivers going into this last corner that I have seen, so let's see if he can do it. Rounding the final corner now. Ooh, very wide on the exit there. That's going to cost him, and it does end up costing him. Ends up doing 2 tenths slower than our provisional pole position time. I'd imagine that some of the drivers are thinking about coming out now for their final laps here in qualifying. I would imagine Edge and Feta 4 are going to be coming out of the pit lane here very, very soon. Start their prep laps. Let's see if there are any drivers on flying laps here. Do have a Mercedes pushing. Believe that is Henry Opp and the Mercedes pushing here as Kaus has left the session. See what kind of time he can do. Phoebe Scotch on his outlap in the Haas. He's going to be looking to find some time to snatch away that pole position after getting second place in the sprint. Let's see where the sector time, 3 tenths. Yellow sector 2, so not improving in the middle sector. Let's see if maybe he saved up some battery here for the final part of the lap, and that's why his time is a little bit slower. Let's see what he can do here. Move a pipe bomb also coming out onto his hot lap, going through the triple right-handers now down towards the final corner, or the penultimate corner, and he invalidates on the inside of the curb. Very easy to do as he comes into the pit lane wisely to have another go at it before the end of qualifying. All of the drivers now on prep laps. Let's see who the first across the line is going to be. I think Feed Me Scotch is, so we will ride on board with him to start his last flying lap. Pole position could be taken by any of these drivers in the top 5 if they can find some time here. I don't think that the Mercedes is going to get another chance to come back out and do another lap, as Femi Scotch rounds the final corner to start his last flying lap here in qualifying at the Circuit of the Americas. Running down towards Big Red here. Let's see if he can get it hooked up nicely. Cut that inside curb. Goes a little bit deep, but it's not going to hurt his time too much. Going down towards the S's here. He deploys quite a bit more battery than I think other drivers might. Deploying a lot more battery, only down to 30% now as we finish the first sector. He is a 10th up on Feta 4, but I do believe that he's using quite a bit more battery than the other drivers to that first part of the lap. So maybe that first sector being a little bit deceiving, considering that it is a yellow first sector. He is going to be struggling on battery here down the straight, only 44%. He may actually end up running out, which is going to hurt his time significantly. If he ends up running out, that's going to be yeah, his lap time is going to be in the mud, unfortunately. Move a pipe bomb starting his last flying lap here with 37 seconds left to go in the session. Let's see what he can do. I would be surprised if Femi Scotch improves after running out of battery there on the straight, getting the deployment strategy wrong as a VCarb heads through the first sector here in his final lap. It's no holds barred now. It's, you know, now or never for the drivers. If you don't get it hooked up now, you could be in trouble, especially with the move pipe bomb setting a personal best first sector. Feta 4 also setting a personal best first sector. Edge invalidating his final lap, so he will not be improving. Let's see how far down the order he might end up going. I think only move a pipe bomb is really the only one who could end up taking away his second row or his first row start. But let's see where move a pipe bomb can go. This is going to be big if the two V carbs can get a 1-2 start. That is going to help them significantly, especially with strategy. He's 2/10 down on Feta 4, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's out of it. He can certainly find time here in the final sector. Let's see if he can as he goes through turn 15. A little bit squirrely on the exit. That's going to hurt. Feta 4 improving by 3/10 on his own lap right now. Feta 4 flying on track at the moment. Move a pipe bomb going through the penultimate corner here. Let's see if he cannot improve. It looks like he's going to peel into the pit lane, so he's not going to improve. Feta 4 is finishing his lap here, going through the penultimate corner. He's up. He does not even need to finish this, doing it for the love of the game, just to show how fast he is through the final corner. Let's see what kind of time he can set. It's going to be a 1:33.1. He is going to qualify on pole position by over 0.5 of a second. Edge coming across the line with a 1:33.773 that was invalidated, so he wasn't even improving on his valid lap. Feta 4 with an absolutely monster lap to finish out qualifying, a 1:33.167. The two Red Bulls starting second and third are going to be hungry behind him. He's going to be looking in his mirrors for the first couple of laps. Femi Scotch and the Haas finishing qualifying in P4, doing a good job to place himself nicely on the second row. Move a pipe bomb starting on the third row alongside Ted in the Alpine. The two Mercedes drivers starting together in P7 and P8. They'll be looking to work together to move forward. Brian DeBruce finishing P9. He'll be looking to get a little bit of a better result than he did in the sprint race. I believe missing out on points by 1 or 2 positions. Scarata and Flyer DJ in the Cadillacs in... Oh, what is going on here? Interesting. All right, well, the other Haas driver finishing in P12. Scarata and Flyer DJ in 11th and 13th. They'll be looking to move forward as well. The Williams finishing in P14. Celius finishing in P15. And the Alpine of Patty Star finishing down in P16. So all the drivers at the back going to look to move forward here as we head into the feature race here at the Circuit of the Americas. We'll get the overlay switched over here before the race starts, so that way I don't have to worry about it as we get started here. I'm assuming that there will be a break to get the setups sorted before we get going, so we'll have a bit of a reprieve before we hop on board for 28 laps around the Circuit of the Americas. Let's see what some of the drivers are saying in the chat, I see some typing going on, so maybe the driver is having a bit of a chat with each other at the moment. Me and Kaus got kicked, need an invite. Yep. Well, fortunately, I don't have these people added, so let's see. The drivers are a little bit surprised at Beta Force pull time. It was an absolute monster lap for him, so doing a very good job to put his car on pole position. I think he is actually going to be the favorite to win the race, assuming that he doesn't have any sort of strategy blunders like they did during the sprint. I'm assuming that there is also no formation laps. So as soon as we get the drivers on screen, we're going to be starting, so I'll need to be locked in for that. Normally, some leagues will do a formation lap, and that gives me some time to collect myself and prepare, but not in this situation. So let's get the timing page pulled up. Let's get the tire wear pulled up as well. We want to make sure that we have all of these things ready and raring to go, because this race could start virtually at any moment. And it would be nice to have all of these things pulled up in preparation for that. So we're just waiting in anticipation for this feature race to kick off. Edge did, manage to edge out Beta 4 in the sprint race and claim 8 points to Beta 4's, I believe, is going to be 5. So right now, Edge coming out of the weekend with a 3-point advantage. But if Beta 4 manages to win the race, that would be a 4-point swing back into his favor. And if he were to get the fastest lap, I believe he would get an extra point, so that could be a 5-point advantage for him. I believe pole position does not get an extra point, but I will have to confirm after the race is over if that is the case. But it is going to be a crazy race going down into turn 1. The two championship leaders, contenders, fighters going to be alongside. That is going to be dangerous. Will we see, as the 5 red lights come on, are we going to see a McLaren Coda situation? The red light staying on for a very long time. I believe Beta 4 getting a little bit of a rough start there, heading down towards turn 1. Looks like he actually got a fantastic start ahead of the Red Bull. The Haas thinking about a move around the outside of the Red Bull. They stay well behaved for now. The V-Carb thinking about a move, moves up into P4 ahead of the Red Bull, who is tumbled down the order. We do have a yellow flag in Sector 1. The Ferrari, I think, getting tangled up with the Alpine of Ted, which is going to cause them to go spiraling down off the track. Let's have a look at the interval here. Edge, starting on the hard compound tires, is going to be a tractor on these first couple of laps. He is going to be super vulnerable to the cars behind. The Haas already thinking about a move, going deep, causing a concertina effect behind the V-Carb going off the track. Maybe not having to give back that position, as it was caused by a bit of a moment from the car ahead. Edge with a run on Beta 4 here. Beta 4 going to defend the inside wisely, as on the mediums, he is not going to want that hard runner to get ahead of him. He's going to want to use these first couple of laps to run away as we head into the third sector. The Red Bull inside, hiding very closely in the wheel tracks of the V-Carb. Red Bull on Red Bull violence as the V-Carb dives down the inside to take P3 away from the Haas of Feed Me Scotch. So the RB is doing a fantastic job at the moment. Cobble K tumbling down into P5, having started P3 as we round the penultimate corner, going into lap number 2. The V-Carb putting himself in the mirrors of the Red Bull of Edge. Maybe a little bit of psychological warfare going on as we head into the second lap. Edge not close enough, in my opinion, to make a move here unless the V-Carb turns his battery off early, which he does. The V-Carb going defensive, holding the inside line. The Red Bull going to have to try and make a move around the outside. This is going to slow things down and keep the grid nice and collected, but everybody's staying pretty well behaved for the moment. I'm not seeing any cars going side by side through the S's, which is smart, as that can certainly cause some problems. But as we continue on here, Edge is only going to gain more and more advantage. Femi Scott gets a penalty, the Red Bull poking his nose through as we head down towards third 11, but that's going to allow the V-Carb to come through on the inside. Let's see if they can keep it clean. The V-Carb moving up into second place for the time being. We're going to run down to turn 12. The V-Carb on the inside here should give his slipstream to his teammate. That is going to help him quite significantly. The Red Bull moving across the side of the track. The V-Carb's going to be side by side. Edge getting into first place, actually ahead of the other V-Carb. So maybe running out of battery as the other V-Carb locks up going into the corner. That's going to cause an absolute chaos going here into the third sector. Pipe Bomb moves up into second place. Feta 4, your race leader, moving down into P4, maybe dropping down to P5 if the Mercedes can chance a move around the outside, going down into turn 15. But now Edge with the hard tires, this benefits him massively, as now he's going to be able to have his hard tires warmed up and he's in first place. That is absolutely crazy. This first couple laps have been absolutely wild. Let's see. I would imagine Edge is going to set the fastest lap here. No, not quite. Maybe the battling causing quite a bit of delay here as we head down now towards turn 1. Pipe Bomb putting himself in the mirrors, but the Haas making a late move, getting tapped. Femi Scott spinning around in turn 1. The stewards are certainly going to have a look at that as to whether or not he was entitled space, and Pipe Bomb just closed the door on him. He's going to be very upset, joining his teammate now at the back in P10, still scoring points, but a P10 is certainly a far cry from P2. Feta 4 in P3 still has overtake and a lot of battery, so he is going to have the chance to come back on his teammate who's trying to keep pace with Edge here. Let's see Edge's battery level. Edge having a significantly higher battery level than the V-Car behind, so Edge going to have a massive advantage this lap. He is going to be able to run away a little bit here. Moving Pipe Bomb going to want to maintain that second gap though, as that gives you access to overtake. Beta 4 only 8/10 behind his teammate. He's going to be looking to stay behind as well and try and keep pace with this Red Bull, especially as the hard tires fire up here in a couple laps. Moving Pipe Bomb about a 10th up on the fastest lap of the race, so the driver's kind of settling into a rhythm here as we head into the third sector of lap 3 here at Coda. The V-Carb is very close to the Red Bull here. I think it would be wise to save some battery though going into the penultimate corner here. The Red Bull likely going to have a significantly higher battery level than the V-Carb. The V-Carb maybe trying to slow the Red Bull down to give his teammate a little bit of an advantage. The V-Carb going to maintain overtake. Beta 4 with the fastest lap setting at 138 even, so he has cemented himself comfortably into second. He's going to be coming up on his teammate. I would imagine that team orders are going to come through, and we're going to get a switcheroo of the two drivers. Feta 4 with a significantly higher amount of pace than Move a Pipe Bomb, and Move a Pipe Bomb, I would imagine, is going to move out of the way and lay his teammate through, as he's already almost dropped back a second from the Red Bull. He's going to need to make the smart decision here and work together with his teammate to try and maintain that overtake. If I was Move a Pipe Bomb, I'm getting out of the way, I'm letting my teammate through, and I'm saying, okay, Beta 4, I need you to drag me along, as we've dropped the Mercedes behind. Beta 4 moving to the inside here. I would imagine the V-Carb, yep, turning off his straight line mode to allow his teammate through. Beta 4 is going to have some work to do though here in the final sector, as he is 8/10 back from your race leader Edge. Now a full second back in the final sector here. It's going to be very important for Feta 4 to get this gap under a second before the final corner, as this is critical for his race if he wants to have a chance at maintaining the lead. Looks like he saved a significant amount of battery, which is going to allow him to maintain that gap, but he is 8/10 back. He's going to need to deploy a little bit of battery here, I feel like, to maintain overtake. Is he going to have it going into the next lap here? I actually don't know. He's not going to have overtake. He has messed it up. Edge setting the fastest lap with Feta 4 behind. Feta 4 messing up the battery deployment. He had so much battery to deploy, but he waited way too long to deploy it. He's now 6/10 back, but he's not going to have the advantage of overtake to get that recharge. Move a Pipe Bomb spiraling down the order. What happened there? Move a Pipe Bomb must have made some sort of big mistake, as he is just tumbling down the order. Is he stopped on track? What is going on to Move a Pipe Bomb? He has gone off the track, turned into a lawnmower, I'm not quite sure what happened there. We'll have to have a look at that. Maybe we'll get a clip in the steward's room. His race is absolutely in shambles now, joining Feed Me Scotch as some of the drivers to lose out from collisions in turn 1. We'll see if he can recover from P13. He's going to have a long way to go to try and make it back up. Theta 4 also with a long way to go here, trying to keep pace with Edge on the hard compound tires. The mediums of Edge starting to wear out a little bit. He's averaging about 5.1% tire wear per lap. And at the moment, he has 23% wear on his front left. So let's look at Edge's tire wear. Edge with only 15% on his front left, which is to be expected. Obviously, he is on the hards, but these two have broken about a 2-second gap to the cars behind. Beta 4 deploying a little bit of battery here in the final part of the lap to get that overtake mode. So I would imagine Beta 4 is going to be able to start making a charge here against your race leader of Edge with that increased recharge rate and deploy rate on this lap. But for the time being, he's a little bit too far back to make a move. So let's have a look at Cobble K against the Mercedes here, fighting for P4. If this gap comes down anymore at the front, I will have a look if things change a little bit. But for the time being, I would like to see what the Red Bull, the number 2 driver of Red Bull, can do here against the Mercedes here on lap 6 going into turn 11. Theta 4 is dropping back quite a bit, but the Red Bull here is not. He is only 3/10 away with a lot of battery going down this straight here. Battery advantage over the car ahead, but you can only deploy so much battery here. So whether or not he'll be able to get past is going to be dependent on whether or not he absolutely sends it into this corner, which it doesn't look like he is for the time being, choosing to save up some battery here. Beta 4 making a move on Edge here, though, going into the 3rd sector. I missed that. We will have to give a little bit more respect to our race leaders here, as they have been able to increase and decrease their gaps like crazy. Beta 4 with 100% battery against Edge, who also has about 100%. So these guys pretty much equal on battery as we head towards the penultimate corner. Let's see what they can do. I mean, I would imagine that Beta 4 is going to want to get ahead here. We have a yellow flag in the 3rd sector. Is that going to go away? It looks like it is. Well, maybe it's not. There's another yellow flag in the final couple of corners here. What is going on there? Looks like it's cleared. I thought that maybe we would have a chance for a safety car here on lap 7, but does not seem to be the case. Beta 4 sticking very close to Edge through the S's here. His medium compound tires are going to start just complaining a little bit as we get later and later into this stint. His pace is going to drop off compared to Edge. Beta 4 with a lot of battery to deploy. I would like to see something specifically though, so let's get this pulled up properly here as we okay, dude, I cannot get this right. Beta 4 behind the Red Bull, thinking about a move to the inside, does go to the inside down towards turn 12, but he kind of backs out of it. He cuts the corner nicely. The Red Bull leaves him room, but the Red Bull going around the outside is going to have the overspeed going down towards turn 13. Beta 4 coming back on the inside, turns into the outside in the next corner. He's going to be able to carry more speed, maybe getting a switchback on the Red Bull going down towards the penultimate corner. Let's see what these two guys can do. Is Beta 4 going to chance a move on the Red Bull? Does not seem to be the case on this occasion. Let's pull up the spectator menu here. I did want to see, okay, Beta 4 is recharging enough. That is one thing I wanted to confirm. I wanted to make sure that he was using a majority of his recharge limit per lap, because if you do not fill that dial up every single lap, that is going to cost you significantly in lap time. Move a pipe bomb is still 20 seconds off the race lead. Beta 4 very, very close. I keep pressing the wrong button and I did it again. Beta 4 very close to your race leader here. Let's get the intervals pulled back up. Move a pipe bomb 1.5 seconds back from Kaus. I would expect him to move back up into point scoring positions if he can recover nicely here. The front two now 2.5 seconds clear of the Mercedes in third and Cobble K in fourth. Wu Shiesty in the Mercedes 3.5 seconds back. So the gaps starting to form in this race, but one gap is becoming smaller. Fade F4 thinking about a move here, going down towards turn 12. He is alongside on the inside, does get ahead, drags the brake a little bit, but he has that move done. Pretty much slam dunk going into turn 12. So your new race leader, Fade F4, doing a good job to get ahead here. There is a yellow flag in sector 3. I'm not sure why. Really was no reason for that. A 3-second time penalty for Brian, not Briar's fan, for Brian, as we head into the penultimate corner with our race leader, Fate F4 will hop on board with Edge instead now. Edge poking his nose, maybe just feeling the mirror of Fate F4. Yellow flags are on. Fate F4 getting a bad run out of the final corner. That is going to give the impetus to Edge. They're going to be side by side going into turn 1. Fate F4 making a late move to the inside. He breaks late. He goes deep. The Red Bull is going to have a chance to get a switchback here going towards the S's. This may lead to them being side by side. This is going to be dangerous. Can they keep it clean going into the S's? Edge does manage to get ahead. Fate F4 deciding better of it and backing out of the move. His medium tires are going to be screaming for help as we get later and later into this stint. The Red Bull of Edge going to have an advantage, especially on this lap, having overtake and having made the move into turn 1. Pretty much the most opportune time to make that move, as now you get that overtake advantage for the entire rest of the lap while the car behind is stuck without that overtake advantage. So we'll see what happens here. Fate F4 is closing the gap down towards turn 12. Is he going to chance a move? He pokes his nose alongside. He brakes late. He drags the brake a little bit, but he does get it done. The two are side by side. The Red Bull having a little bit of space as we head into turn 13. They keep it clean, and the Red Bull does maintain the race lead for now, but Fate F4 is going to come back on the inside in turn 15. He does run deep. The Red Bull getting a switchback, but through the triple right-handers, can they keep it clean? Fate F4 gets touched and spun sideways. He is going to lose out, and he is going to drop back over a second from Edge. We are witnessing major drama here. Fate F4 peeling into the pits after scrubbing those tires. Did he just get wing damage? It does not look like he did. I think he tapped a little bit of a tap of the wall there. Fate F4 drama on lap 9 out of 10 comes into the pit lane. Yellow flag in sector 3 for a car stopped on track. Is that going to bring out a safety car? Kaus still stopped in the final corner. What is going on back here? Kaus is in the wall. He's still off the track. He's still parked on the racing line, and we do not have a stoppage. What is the FIA doing at the moment? Is the FIA asleep? We had a car in the wall for 30,000 years, and we did not get a safety car. Interesting. Fate F4 comes out of the pit lane on hards in P8. He is going to have a massive tire advantage over all the cars ahead, so looking for a major undercut. I'm not sure, can he make those hard compound tires last 19 laps to the end? Or is Fate F4 now on a 2-stop strategy? Is he maybe thinking that I'm going to try a 2-stop? I don't think that that's the right decision. In my personal opinion, I don't think that the 2-stop is worth it. But can Fate F4, with his significant pace advantage that he displayed in qualifying, can he make that work? Looking down the grid, I guess we should just ride on board with Fate F4 because there's nothing else going on here at the front. Fate F4 trying to make a move done around the outside on the Williams, gets bumped off the track. Stewards will definitely have a look at that. The Williams getting their elbows out against your pole position sitter. Fate F4 trying a move around the outside here. He is going to have the major tire advantage, so I'd imagine he gets this done slam dunk. Let's ride on board with Fate F4. Kavlike coming into the pit lane to strap on the hard compound tires, I would assume. Let's see what happens. Fate F4 coming across the line. Kavlike strapping on the hard compound tires. Where does he come out compared to Fate F4 coming out of the pit lane now? A little bit behind, so there will be no battling there. Beta 4 just going to look to whittle this gap down for the time being. Cobble K comes out ahead of Pitter Patter. I don't think that there will be a battle there with the tire advantage for Cobble K. Celius and the other Alpine deciding to come into the pits for hard compound tires as well. So all of the medium runners now have to kind of ask themselves, do we want to have a tire advantage here going into the last part of the race? And do we want to overcut, or are we looking to take advantage of the fact that these guys have pit early and cover them off? Lots of time penalties as well to consider. Pretty much everybody from P9 down to P15 with penalties. So that could shake up the order quite a bit as well. Let's see. Cobble K is a little bit close here to the Williams, who was just passed by Feta 4. Cobble K is going to want to get past here as quickly as possible to try and hunt down the V-Carb and help out his teammate, who is running in P1 at the moment. A little bit squirrely on the exit there, but again, with a massive tire advantage over the mediums of Azrata, those B11-old mediums are going to be complaining quite a bit, especially through here. As you can see, the Williams running very wide through there. That is going to give Cobble K a little bit of advantage, and Cobble K is going to pick up the overtake here. Maybe not, actually. If Azrata decides to pit, Cobble K does pick up the overtake. Wu Shiesty pitting as well to put on the hard compound tires. So Feta 4 moving up into 4th place, Cobble K moving up into 5th. Now let's have a look here and see the gap to the leader. So Feta 4 is 21 seconds back from the leader. So I do believe that he has undercut into the net race lead. But if Feta 4 cannot close this gap more, that is going to give an advantage to Edge here in the closing stages of the race. We really do want to see Fate sort of do a better job lap over lap if he wants to have this race win, as being 20 seconds back is only about a pit stop, and those mediums are going to be a lot faster than his old hards when Edge comes into the pit lane. I'm assuming around lap 16 would be when I would imagine he's going to come in the pit lane, lap 16 or 17, unless there's a safety car or something like that. Feta 4 on the gearbox of Scarrata going into the final sector here. He is going to want to get past this slow hard runner as soon as possible, maybe chancing a move down into turn 15, thinking better of it, maybe thinking about using his battery advantage, which he doesn't actually have on the Cadillac defending massively despite these two being on different strategies. Maybe not the wisest move from the Cadillac going into the penultimate corner. Feta 4 maybe getting a track limits warning there. Let's have a look and see. No track limits warning there for him, as the lead Mercedes comes into the pit lane now to put on the hard compound tires. Feta 4 3/10 back from the Cadillac, not able to get a move done into turn 1, but his tire advantage should give him a bit of a run here going into the S's. Does he take the risk and put his car alongside going into the S's? They're going to be side by side, but Feta 4 making the move stick even before the second S. So that was a fantastic move for him. Scarrata picking up a 3-second time penalty during that exchange of blows. So now Feta 4, 21 seconds back from your race leader of Edge. Feta 4 is going to need to start chugging and churning and putting in some mega laps if he is going to want to not lose out on this race later in the race. Obviously, if there was a safety car at this exact moment, that would switch things up significantly for everybody. All Edge's on track position, time advantage, whatever you want to call it, would be wiped away basically in an instant. So we shall see what happens. Feta 4 obviously having undercut the leader does kind of maintain that advantage, especially if there were to be a safety car right after Edge comes into the pit lane. But we shall see. Let's see if there's any significant gaps that are worth watching at the moment. Cobble K close to the Mercedes, fighting over P4 here. The Mercedes does have a penalty. He does have a 3-second time penalty. Cobble K is on 2 warnings though, so he is only one more trip outside of the white lines away from picking up a 3-second penalty and putting themselves on equal terms with the Cadillac of Scarrata and the Mercedes. So he will need to try and keep things within track limits as we head down towards turn 1. See what happens. Pitter Patter deciding to come into the pit lane on this occasion. Theta 4, let's look at the lap times from Theta 4. Theta 4 did a 138.1 last lap, Edge a 138.4, so Theta 4 currently 3/10 faster than the Red Bull ahead, but that is certainly not going to be enough to get him to the end of this race, as we have the Aston Martin gone sideways again out of turn 12. Let's have a look at Theta 4's. Actually, let's make sure that we're on board with Cobble K before this final part of the lap, as I think that he might be able to chance a move on the Mercedes here if he can close that gap down. It is 9/10 at the moment, so that will be difficult to do. I do not think that is going to happen. All right, so we can have a look here and maybe talk some strategy. Edge has 45% on his front left tire. Theta 4, on the other hand, only has 15% on his front left, but crucially, if he sort of stays like this and continues to manage his tires like this, he will be on 75% tire wear on the final lap. So can he manage his tires while still putting in good laps to try and bring down the race lead as he sets the fastest lap of the race? But the Mercedes behind, setting a faster lap by over 0.5 of a second, going down the inside of the Cadillac. He does have the fresher tires, so that should be a slam dunk move. With the time penalties, they are on equal terms. Cobble K in a net higher position than both of them, but does Cobble K have the overtake here? No, he does not. So he is going to be struggling to close that gap down, especially if he cannot get past the Cadillac on this tour of the Circuit of the Americas. Let us see what can happen here. We got a 3-car train here fighting over the last podium position. Let's see what happens here. I do want to switch things around really quickly, but I will do that after we head down into turn 12. Estrada picking up a 3-second time penalty for track limits. So tough race for him. As he head down towards turn 12, all of the cars choosing to behave for the time being. So neither of the cars deciding to make any moves on each other, as we have a yellow flag in sector 2. Looks like that has been cleared. Cobble K behind, very close to the Cadillac. Is he going to chance a move here in the triple right-handers? He is going to need to make something happen, as he is already 2 seconds clear of the Mercedes. That is going to be a big issue for Cobble K, who is trying to come back from his P3 start, now down in P5. He really is going to want to make up this position as soon as possible. Let's see if he tries something going down into turn 1. It looks like he doesn't have the battery, or maybe choosing not to deploy the battery enough to make the move stick. He is going to be very close, running a little bit deep though into turn 1. Let's see if he can make a move happen going into the S's. If not, we'll switch things around really quickly. Theta 4 has brought the gap down to 18 seconds. I don't know if that will be enough though, unfortunately, to win the race here. Let's switch this around really quickly. Stand by. I just wanted to make sure that that was set to 80 instead of 60, so we can see when these guys will actually hit 80% tire wear. Cobble K very close to the Cadillac, heading down towards turn 11. Let's look at Scarada's battery level. Scarada has less battery than Cobble K. Cobble K, with the overtake, may have a chance here. 3/10 back, 2/10 back. He is closing, he is gaining on the Cadillac. The Ford powered Red Bull going to think about a move here, is going to commit to the outside line into turn 12, gets covered off by the Cadillac and has to relent. All the while, the gap to the Mercedes ahead is 3 seconds now. It's going to be even more as they go through the third sector here. I do believe the Cadillac Escalada on much older tires than Cobble K, putting up the Great Wall of China pretty much in this not in this sprint race, in this feature race. So very interesting to see. Edge, his pace has dropped off quite a bit, I believe, because last lap Theta 4 did a 137.257, Edge doing a 139. So Theta 4 starting to cut into that gap, cut into that margin that they have pretty significantly. We'll ride on board with him for a moment so I can try and get a gauge of whether or not he'll be able to go to the end. if he continues at this pace, yeah, he will be able to easily go to the end on these hard tires. The question is, does he start thinking about maybe saving tires to defend against Edge, who is going to, I would imagine, pit this lap onto fresh medium tires, and he's going to have a flyer. Whoa, Feta 4 having a bit of a moment, it seems like. We're just going to bring the Mercedes into it. The gap now rising to 19.5 seconds. So Feta 4 losing 2 seconds on this tour. That is going to hurt his race win chances significantly. And another thing is that it's going to hurt his tire wear as well. We'll have to see where he's at on the end of this lap. But if I was Edge, seeing that gap jump up, seeing that Feta 4 had a bit of a lapse in focus, I would be jumping into the pit lane as soon as possible to try and get some new medium tires on. But Edge choosing to stay out again. I'm not sure if that's the right move, but I'm not leading the race here, so I'm not going to make those decisions for him. But with his tires being on 55% on his front left, he is going to start experiencing some significant pace fall off. But he was a second faster than Edge last lap. Obviously, Edge having a terrible middle sector, or sorry, Fate having a terrible middle sector with his moment. But we will see if Feta 4 can continue to bring the gap down. He does have a 30% tire advantage over Edge. So let's see what he can do. Edge with 60% battery going into this corner. Feta 4 with a similar amount, I would imagine. We'll see what sector times are looking at. Feta 4's first sector is actually a 10th slower than Edge's first sector, so that is pretty surprising considering that Feta 4 has fresher hard tires. We'll see what his second sector looks like. Maybe he can come back a little bit. I would expect his major advantage to be in the third sector. Edge sets a 39.1 middle sector, so we will see what kind of times Edge can put down for the middle sector. He has already gained, from what I can tell, 0.6. So we shall see what happens. Feta 4, yeah, going about 0.8 faster in the middle sector. So he is going to be able to continue to bring that gap down. He just needs to set clean laps here, not have a moment like he did before. Edge choosing now as the time to come into the pits. Where is he going to come out compared to Fate F4 and the Mercedes? Is he going to come out ahead of his teammate, even Cobble-K? That will be important as he leaves his pit box with Fate rounding the final corner. It's going to be, I would imagine, close heading down towards turn 1. Oh, this is going to be... This is a nightmare for Fate F4. Fate F4 is going to having to pit on lap 9. Edge is going to come out on fresh mediums right on the gearbox of Fate F4. And he is already hounding the V-Carb through the S's here. This is going to be crazy to see. Is Fate F4 going to fight this like a dog, or is he going to accept the fact that he has no chance of winning here unless there is a safety car? I would imagine Fate F4 is going to try and get the elbows out. The Red Bull is already alongside going down towards turn 11. I would imagine the V-Carb is going to defend. He moves to defend the inside. The Red Bull trying to hang it around the outside going into turn 11. This is for the race lead. The two Ford-powered Formula 1 cars having a massive scrap here on lap 19. This is to decide the race. I would imagine the V-Carb is going to deploy absolutely everything here going down towards turn 12. He does have the inside line, but the Red Bull is able to brake later with the fresher tires. Fate F4 loses out going into this part of the lap, but does Fate F4 have anything left in him to fight back against the Red Bull, or is this another dominant performance from Edge here at the Circuit of the Americas? Fate F4 already driving back by almost a second from Fate F4, or from Edge. If he is going to want to have any chance of maintaining the chance, a smidgen of a chance for a win, he's going to need to get much closer than that, and he isn't. And importantly, behind, the Mercedes is going to have overtake now on him. It looks like he is going to get another penalty, so that is going to hurt his race. I think he's, yeah, got 3 seconds worth of penalty. Edge only 1 warning, Fate 0 warning. So Cobble-K picking up a penalty. So he is on all of the cars from P3 down to P14, except for Pitter Patter, have picked up time penalties. So I would imagine if you're Brian, or if you are Pitter Patter, You would try and get within as close as you can to the cars ahead, but he is pretty far back. We will watch this battle for P2 with interest. Obviously, Feta 4 with the net P2, even if the Mercedes is to come past him. But if the Mercedes and the V-Carb start to battle, that might bring Cobble K back in it, especially considering the fact that Cobble K does have the fresher tires compared to Feta 4. Feta 4 has 10% more worn tires than the Mercedes behind. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here going into the final stages of this race. Edge, unless you make some sort of mistake or there's a safety car, is your runaway race winner at the moment. He's just going to need to keep it clean, but there is a retirement in sector 2 and a full course safety car here on lap 20. This is horrible for Edge. After doing such a good job to maintain that gap, it's all going to get wiped away. I would imagine all of the cars are going to come into the pits here to strap on fresh tires to go to the end. Let's see what Edge decides to do. Edge staying out on his mediums, his 8% worn mediums. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Beta 4 deciding to come into the pit lane. Are people going to choose to stay out? The Mercedes choosing to stay out on his old hards. I think that is a mistake. Beta 4 coming in and putting on the softs. Now that, oh, these are fresh softs, so that is something. He's going to want to baby those soft tires though, as those soft tires are going to absolutely melt. But Beta 4 maybe making the call that there's only going to be so many laps worth of racing left, and so he comes in for the soft compound tires. Edge staying out on his used mediums. The Mercedes staying out on his used hards. That is going to hurt him significantly, especially with the safety car restart, as his hard tires are going to be bone cold and worn out whenever this restart happens. I would imagine Feta 4 is going to get past him rather easily. The one thing to watch though is how well does Feta 4 take care of his soft tires here during the safety car, as he is going to wear those tires out very, very quickly if he does not do a good job of taking care of them here on these couple of safety car laps. I would imagine the safety car is going to be out for a while, as the gap down to 14th place is over a minute and a half. So these cars almost a lap down are going to have to find a way to catch back up. The safety car might hit its lap limit before these guys get caught back up. But if that were to be the case, Feta 4 would only have to survive on soft tires for about 4 or 5 laps. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. For the first couple 2 or so laps, he is going to have an advantage over the cars ahead. But after that point, Edge on the medium tires is going to have the advantage. So this is going to be an interesting close to the end of the race. We shall see what happens. I do want to see how many warnings is everybody on. Edge on 1 warning, Fate on 0 warning, so Fate can afford to push very hard here in the closing stages of the race. Let's see who decided to pit and who didn't. Beta 4 choosing to pit. Whoosh, I see that both of the Mercedes choosing not to pit. Cobble K behind on the medium tires is going to have easy pickings there. Beamy Scotch picking the softs. Brian on the mediums. Brian recovering well after his lap 1 incident. Move a pipe bomb. Still down in P11, but with the neutralization of this race, he is going to have a chance to make up some positions here. So we shall see what happens. Feta 4 doing a good job to manage his soft tires at the moment. Only 1% across the board. Let's look at the positions gained and lost during the race. Edge up 1 position. Big stories here. Move a pipe bomb and Ted down in P11, P12, losing 6 positions off of their start. Pretty torrent race for them. Brian doing well to recover, like I said before. Esrata doing well, up 4 positions. Pitter Patter up 4 positions. The Henry Op, unfortunately I can't see his name, doing well to make up 5 positions, running in P2, but that is going to turn into a P3, especially with all these penalties. And with the neutralization of this race, anybody without penalties stands to gain absolutely massively here in the closing stages. So Pitter Patter is basically the only driver without a penalty at this point. He stands to gain absolutely massively here towards the end of the race. We shall see what happens. If I was keep forgetting his name, Henriop, I would be swerving and weaving and doing everything possible to try and warm these hard compound tires up, because they are going to be absolutely frozen cold. A nice and chill 62 degrees Celsius, which is not going to be enough, in my opinion, for the C1 compound tires to fire up. They are going to be, or I think they may be C2. Maybe C2. I think it's C4, C3, and C2. So those C2 tires are going to be very, very cold here towards the end of the race. We should have a safety car for one more lap, it looks like. The Aston Martin's likely to catch up on this tour. So the soft tires may be a mistake, because we're going to be going to lap 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. He's going to have to survive on those soft tires for 5 laps. That is a long way to go on soft tires. So we will see if he is able to manage that, Fate F4, to try and get the race win here. He did start on pole position. It would be devastating if after that incident on lap 9 before he pit, he ended up losing out on the race win. That would hurt him significantly against his rival Edge, who already has a gap. So it will be very interesting to see what happens here towards the end of the race. He's doing a good job, though, managing his soft compound tires to make sure that they are not getting worn out too quickly. Though with the cars coming up behind, likely deciding, oh wow, House kind of making a smart decision, maybe waiting to catch up to the field before getting onto his soft tires to give himself the largest advantage possible. I think that may end up forcing the safety car to stay out another lap as well, which does play into the hands of Fate F4. The less laps we have in the closing stages of this race, the better it is going to be for Fate F4, and the worse it is going to be for the Mercedes. Edge is pretty much happy either way. His mediums are going to fire up rather quickly on this first lap of running afterwards, so I wouldn't be surprised if he is pretty comfortable, especially with the hard tire runner right behind him to sort of build a wall. Safety car is coming in this lap, so we will have 5 laps of running to the checkered flag. We'll see what happens here on the safety car restart. Fate 4 is going to need to get around the Mercedes as soon as possible. Make sure we don't rear end each other on the safety car restart. Let's keep it clean. Last thing we want is for someone to get wing damage on a safety car restart and have their race ruined. So let's leave a healthy gap. Certainly can't win the race on the safety car restart, so let's be careful. When will Edge decide to pull the trigger? Rounding the final safety car, rounding the final corners now to peel into the pits. I would imagine that he is going to go on the final corner. We'll see what happens. I believe that is going to be the case. Yep, Edge deciding to go out of the final corner. Gets a pretty decent run. Actually, doesn't get the terrible run. And the Mercedes is going to have a chance up the inside. This plays well into Fate F4's hands. Goes down the inside. He parks the bus on the apex. Fate F4 comes through. He's going to have a chance at making a run. The two locking wheels and running wide. The championship leader off the track, turning into a lawnmower, coming back, causing pandemonium in the S's. Where does everybody end up coming out after this absolutely chaotic safety car restart? Fate F4 down into P5. Cobble K moving up into third. Wu Shiesty moving up into second. And your race leader Edge running away from it. Fate F4 picking up a 10-second penalty for an illegal overtake. His race is absolutely destroyed after that penalty. He is going to be in hell after that. That is heartbreak for the V-Carb, who is going to fight as hard as possible to build as big of a gap as possible. I would imagine some desperate moves are going to be done here in the closing stages of the race. The Haas gets clipped. The other Red Bull getting clipped as well as we go into Sector 3. The rest of the cars getting their elbows out. Nobody holding back. All of the blows going. Everybody giving it their all as we go to end this race. Fate F4 going up the inside of the Mercedes, getting a little bit of a rubbing as they head out of the corner. That is going to bring the Red Bull in, who wisely backs out, deciding that it's not worth it to try and chance a move there. Fate F4 moving back up into P3, but with that 10-second penalty, he is going to be in the doldrums. He may even finish outside of the points if things stay the way they are. Feta 4 is going to need to get past on this tour, and he is going to need to start building a major gap if he is going to want to hold on to anything other than like a P9 or a P10. It'll be important to see the gap as things start to close out here, but Edge doing a great job to just basically run away with the race here. Unless Feta 4 can have some sort of miraculous pace increase as we head into the final stage of this race, he is out of it. The drama on lap 9 and now the drama on lap 24. Stewards will certainly have a look at whether or not the Mercedes came over and maybe initiated that contact and wheel hooking between himself and the V-Carb as the yellow flag in sector 1. It is not too late to have another safety car either, which would be terrible for Feta 4. Brian and Phoebe Scotch swapping around. Phoebe Scotch dropping down the order down to P8. Struggling a little bit. Feta 4 is closing the gap to Edge. His soft compound tires helping him out at this stage of the race. If he can get within 1 second of Edge before his soft tires fall off, that will be helpful for his race. He is going a second faster than the fastest lap of the race, which should give him that bonus point for fastest lap. So that will help him in his recovery, especially with the 10-second penalty. We'll see if that 10-second penalty ends up standing. I'm sure he will appeal that, saying that he was forced off track and had nowhere to go. We'll see if that 10-second penalty ends up standing as we head into lap 26 28. Feta 4 only 1.4 seconds behind Edge, so I'm assuming Feta 4 will be driving as if he is still fighting for the race win here. If his penalty does get removed, then there is still a chance for him to win this race. We will see what happens. If he wins this race on track, he may have a chance of retaining the race win if that penalty gets removed. But now heading into the S's here, he is only 1.1 seconds back, and the gap is going to continue to shrink so long as the tires of Feta 4 are fresher than the mediums of Edge, which they still will be for this lap. Feta 4 is 16%, Edge has 18%. So by the end of this lap, Feta 4's tire advantage will have worn off. But can he get within that very important 1 second gap before the end of this lap? If he can, then he might have a chance of winning the race here. But if he cannot, then he might have to settle for a P2, or even worse, if that penalty stands, he may still drop out of the order, though Brian DeBruce has already fallen 5 seconds clear. So Feta 4 does have a bit of a gap, a bit of a breathing space at the moment. If he continues to run like this, he has closed the gap down to 0.7 seconds, which is good for his race, because as his tires start to fall off, he is going to want that overtake to give him that extra battery to defend from Cobble K behind in the Red Bull. Cobble K doing well to recover from his pretty torrid start to come back into P3 as they round the final set of corners to finish out lap 26 and end up on lap 27. But Feta 4 once again making a mistake and not deploying enough battery, and he is not going to have overtake, which means that his race and his P2 is in jeopardy here, as Cobble K is going to have the pace advantage now. The medium's going to fire up pretty significantly compared to Feta 4's softs. Cobble K with a 6% tire advantage heading into this tour. On the second to last lap, there is a Aston Martin, or no, a Williams retiring in the pits, deciding that enough is enough after finishing 27 out of 28 laps, deciding that he's had enough and deciding to come into the pit lane. But the Red Bull is going to have a run on the V-Carb here going down into turn 11. Let's see if Cobble K could slow down Feta 4 enough to cause him to drop out. This would be big for the V-Carb's championship hopes and Red Bull's championship hopes. If I'm Cobble K, I'm trying to get past here, and I'm trying to park the bus like none other. I'm trying to build a wall and slow Feta 4 down as much as possible to drop him back into that range of penalties to the cars behind. But that does require that Cobble K gets past, which he is going to have to try and get it done before the final lap here. Maybe deciding to sit back and wait to get overtake for the final lap to have that advantage. But Feta 4 has closed the gap to Edge once again, giving the one last hurrah to these soft compound tires. So if he is able to maintain overtake, then he is going to be in good shape for this final lap. They are still 6 seconds clear of Brian DeBruce in 4th place. Let's see what happens here on this final lap. Will Cobble K chance a move on Beta 4. Let's have a look at the gap to leader. At the moment, if Beta 4 were to finish right here, he would drop down to, I believe, he would only drop down to P4 because I believe everybody else behind also with time penalties. So Beta 4 at least guaranteeing himself a podium position. Now, whether or not that podium position is a P2 or a P3 remains to be decided by likely the stewards. But we shall see on this tour of things. Will Cobble K get past? If Cobble K is able to get past on track, he still has that 3-second time penalty. So maybe Cobble K just going to settle for P3 and hope that the 10-second time penalty is going to give him that advantage. But Beta 4 is going to think about maybe making a move on edge. Remember, if that 10-second penalty gets removed, he will inherit the race win. He goes for a late move down the inside into turn 12, locking the brakes. The two going side by side. Beta 4 losing out. Going to have to settle for now, but can he burn a battery into the penultimate corner here and maybe chance a move on edge for the race win? This will be interesting to see, because if Beta 4 has that time penalty removed, that would be big for him. We're going into the penultimate corner here. Beta 4 is close, but is he close enough to make a move? Not quite. As we round the final couple of corners, it does look like, for the time being, it is going to be Edge in the Red Bull as your race winner, followed by Beta 4 on track, who is going to drop down to P3, which means Red Bull is going to have a provisional 1-2 finish, which is absolutely massive for their constructors' hopes, especially considering the fact that Move a Pipe Bomb is going to finish pretty far down the order. Oh, actually, no, he actually moves up into P5, so a good result for him considering the incident that he had early on in the race. Brian DeBruce finishing a very respectable P4 after having a good race and a good recovery. I'm not sure, I always forget who the Mercedes driver is, but doing well to finish in P6. Femi Scotch P7. Ted in the Alpine finishing P8. Ushaisti, the other Mercedes, finishing P9. Pitter Patter finishing P10. Cal Scrata and Celius are going to be asking themselves where it went wrong as they miss out on points. But all of the glory going to Edge, who had a fantastic race on the alt strat. I thought he may be out of it with how slow he was on the first couple of laps with those hard tires having to fire up, but he did well to recover, to manage that, and he did well to take advantage of basically every opportunity to come home and win the race. So another race win for Edge, who is going to just continue to increase his championship gap, especially with the sprint. Beta 4 finishing with the fastest lap driver of the day is Brian DeBruce. No surprises. Cleanest driver being Edge as well, which is not unsurprising. Let's have a look at the race director. We'll turn off the overlay so everybody can have a look at all of the incidents and warnings. I'm imagining there's going to be an entire textbook worth of penalties. Yeah, there is a lot here. So if any of the drivers need, oh my god, there's even more. Oh my god, there's so much. If the drivers need to appeal anything, that is your opportunity to do so. But wrapping things up here at Circuit of the Americas, we had a great race. Sprint and feature race was very exciting, was a very action-packed. Edge doing a good job to finish ahead of his championship rival in both the sprint and the feature race. So the gap will increase, but next week we do have, I believe next week we do have Austria. So will Beta 4 be able to bounce back from a disappointing P3 and P4 in the feature and sprint race respectively, and maybe bring the fight back to Edge, who looks like the championship favorite for the time being? I don't know, but what I do know is that I will definitely be here next week to see that race, as it's not going to be one that you want to miss. If you tuned in all the way to the end, I do appreciate it. I will try and have the broadcast quality be a little bit better for next week. I'll have the hotkeys set, so you won't have to worry about the pause menu coming up. But once again, I do appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next week for Austria.